But if there is a favorite to finish in the top two, it would be 27-year-old Josh Davis, triple gold medalist from the 96 Olympics. Most golds, Rowdy, by any American man at those games.
You know, I have seen Josh Davis take a lot of races out very fast, but I've never seen Josh take it out that fast.
And he's still ahead of world record pace at the halfway mark. Davis looks like he's going to win it, and Davis sets an American record. He breaks a 12-year-old mark. What a swim for Davis.
Welcome to the Ultimate Swimmer Podcast. I'm your host, three-time Olympic gold medalist and captain of the 2000 USA team, Josh Davis. Here at Ultimate Swimmer, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you to be the very best version of you, physically, mentally, and spiritually, on your swimming journey. This podcast is geared primarily for those of us in the aquatic disciplines of age group swimming, college swimming, para swimming, open water swimming, and master swimming. But we welcome all who are interested in peak performance, pursuing excellence, and swimming with purpose. So whether you are just starting out in the pool or you've been swimming your entire life, you were born for the water, and you were also born for greatness. So each week we will explore the 7 core habits of achieving greatness that will help take you to the next level in your journey to becoming an ultimate swimmer. This episode is brought to you by Breakout Swim Clinics, the longest-running swim clinic tour of swimming Olympians in U.S. history. Breakout Swim Clinics has been providing swim clubs with the biggest Olympic names for the best prices with gold medal service since 1997. Go to breakoutswimclinic.com and bring some of their great Olympians to your team to help your swimmers break out. Bigger names, better prices, gold medal service. Break out with the best. breakoutswimclinic.com. Hey everybody, welcome to the Ultimate Swimmer Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Davis. Very excited about this week's guest. He was a junior national champion, an All-American at Ohio State, and now one of the newest members of the Tokyo Olympic team. He's one of the fastest 100 backstrokers of all time and a gold medalist in the 400 medley relay. He just returned home to Dover, Ohio from an awesome Olympic Games in Tokyo. And he's also a great student, great magician, and great swimmer, true ultimate swimmer. Welcome to the Ultimate Swimmer Show, Hunter Armstrong. Welcome, Hunter.
Thank you so much for having me. Well,
we really enjoyed keeping up with you in Tokyo. So just want to say right off the bat, congrats. Everybody was enthralled with your magic tricks. We love that you came home with a gold medal. And I know that you had some ups and downs that we'll talk about later. But just again, congrats on an unbelievable summer.
Oh, thank you so much.
So we'll get into the details of trials in Tokyo a little bit later. But just real quick, tell us about your childhood. What was your first interaction with swimming? And then really, what was something your parents and first coaches did well that set you on a trajectory for a love of swimming and a good foundation for swimming?
Yeah, so I guess going back to the very beginning, which also kind of goes into my family life, I have an older brother who also swam at West Virginia. But I always followed in his footsteps. I wanted to be like him, as I think most younger siblings do. But we are at Atwood Lake, which is we have a cabin down there, and there used to be a slide that goes into the lake. I was probably 3 years old at the time, and I did not know how to swim. So I followed him off the slide into the water and actually drowned. So apparently, as the story goes, some little girl pulled me out of the water. And as soon as she got onto the beach, an older gentleman took over and kind of ran me over to my dad. As soon as I was in my dad's arms, I took my first breath again.
Wow.
So I scared the crap out of my parents, so they threw me immediately into swim lessons. And ever since then, I've stuck with it.
You've been in the water ever since. Wow. So you're 20, and that's 17 years of being in the water. And then what was the club situation like as a kid in Dover? What was the name of your club? What was fun about that growing up?
So I swam for the Tuscarawas County Silver Streaks, which is just our YMCA team. We don't actually have a club like the USA Club. So I didn't discover that until much later in life. So for about 17 years of probably closer to 16 years of my life, I was just swimming part-time, just because I enjoy being in the water.
Wow.
So obviously Silver Streaks led into high school, but I had actually quit in middle school because if you don't know anything about me, I'm a very late grower. So I was getting beat up, beat up a little bit, but I meant beat. Like everybody was faster than me. And one memory that always sticks, always comes to mind first is we were trying to make zones on a YMCA relay, and I was on that relay because we only had 4 guys on our team, so
You had to be on it.
I had to be on it. And I remember my teammate going, "Come on, Hunter, you need a 28, like just a 28. That's all you need to go on this 50 free."
Yeah.
And I went like a 31, and I felt so bad. But yeah, I was tired of it. I still loved the sport, but I'm a competitor at heart, and I couldn't compete.
Yeah.
So I had actually quit for a little bit in middle school, and my high school coach, who is also my Silver Streak coach, Brenda Worley, was like, "No, you're gonna grow. Just stick with it, please. Like, high school is completely different." I listened, and obviously, I think I made the right choice.
Yeah. No, high school ideally can really provide a lot of inspiration, a lot of great memories, and a way to stay in the sport. And you progressed and you grew, I assume.
Yeah,
Got all
still like senior year of high school, but I did grow.
Yeah, that's so funny. Remind me all your siblings' names real quick.
Jake, that's it.
Oh, okay. So Jake's old. And because I remember calling his races at West Virginia, and when he was there, because I got to commentate those swims. So that's cool. Now, what was it like being recruited? Because, not a big club, not a lot of big traditional USA club action, but you're progressing through the high school ranks, and then West Virginia recruited you, and you thought, well, my brother went there, I'll go there. Just kind of give us a little insight into that.
So I think it was my junior year, 2018. That's when I started to swim long course, so the USA season.
Yeah.
I didn't really fully commit to it by the time I started getting recruited, but I was at Tier Pro Series Columbus, and that is the first time any college has spoken to me. And it was Kentucky, Ohio State, West Virginia, Indiana, and Louisville. Louisville never called me back. Indiana never responded. So I guess they more so expressed interest, but when I wanted to reach out, I didn't get a response. So I ended up narrowing it to Ohio State, Kentucky, and West Virginia, the only 3 schools that actually responded to me. But yeah, so my school only allowed me to take a certain number of visits, so I narrowed it to West Virginia and Ohio State. I loved both schools, but the ultimate decision maker was my older brother was already at West Virginia, and it was familiar. I knew the team, I knew the coaches, I knew the school already.
Yeah.
So I made that decision, stuck there for a year, and then after my brother left, I did some insight. I don't know if that's the proper word, but I'm like, I don't think this program is the perfect match for me. So I opened the portal, which was the hardest thing. That took a lot of thinking, and it was hard. But I definitely think I belong at Ohio State.
Yeah, so you go in the portal, and Ohio State, did you kind of reach out to them first and let them know, hey, I'm legal, I'm open now? Or did they immediately contact you? How did that go?
So there was kind of already some talk that I was going to open the portal.
Yeah.
Because obviously opening the portal is a very scary thing. And because you can't talk to coaches, but I was talking to the athletes at NC State and Ohio State. Those are the two schools, a little bit of Texas, but mostly Ohio State and NC State.
Yeah.
So I was talking to their athletes to make sure, hey, if I open this portal, do I have a place to go?
Right.
So the coaches at both schools knew that it was going to happen. So within probably 5 hours of me opening the portal, I got a call from Bill Dorncott.
Well, that worked out good then. And so Ohio State, transferring over there felt pretty easy. And then obviously something worked. You had a good season, and then kind of fast forward. Well, give us some highlights of what were the differences that really were working when you got to Ohio State. Was it just different technique work, different sets? Just what was it that kind of helped, you think? Or just you kind of coming into your own as a swimmer, still being relatively new to the sport, or all those things combined?
I think it's kind of all those things. Obviously, as I physically grew and matured, that helped a lot.
Yeah.
But West Virginia and Ohio State have two completely different cultures. They have different training styles. One of the biggest changes is lifting and the training style. So I did not lift at West Virginia. This was my first year lifting. And training style, if you don't know the head coach, Vic Riggs, he was one of the best distance swimmers in the country, if not world. I kind of forget the story. But we all did a lot of yardage. Yeah. Like a lot of yardage, including the sprinters, because after the sprint coach, Damien, left, the sprint group kind of just vanished. It's still a very successful program without a sprint coach. So I went from doing tons of yardage and basically training as a mid-distance to distance swimmer to now I'm doing power. I'm doing short, fast stuff. I'm doing quality sets. I'm working on the starts. It's more than just swimming. We've broken down my stroke to figure out how to go faster.
Yeah. What is something in particular that really made a difference in your technique this last year that you can kind of communicate succinctly? Was it a position of your hand on the catch phase? Was it, connection to your hips? Was it the turnover and the spin? What was it? More dolphin? What was a little bit of all of it?
So I actually have very bad underwaters. It's something that I need to work on in order to get to the next level. But I actually don't train backstroke at all. I train specifically, just almost exclusively, sprint freestyle. I don't know how it works. I don't think even my coaches know why it works, but it works. So we did fix the details of my freestyle, because when I get tired, my head goes like out and back.
Yeah.
And I often, when I pull, I'll cross my body. So obviously you can't cross your body on backstroke, but I think a lot of the details of freestyle are very similar to backstroke, because it's the same thing, but just you're flipped.
Yeah. No, similar core muscles and flow and, working on arm speed and leg speed. So yeah, definitely a lot of similarities. for sure. And anytime you just increase your feel and your coordination and your athleticism and your flexibility, for freestyle, it's going to help you in backstroke as well, and maybe vice versa. So that's interesting. I love that. So things are going well. You show up to trials in June. What was the mindset?
Oh boy.
You and your coaches. I mean, did you kind of know something the rest of us didn't? Did you just, or were you guys kind of as surprised as we were?
I was definitely as surprised. So it kind of all goes back to Tier Pro Indianapolis. So about a week before Tier Pro Indy, I'd spent like a week and a half out of the water because I went to my cousin's wedding. And my coach told me, he's like, that's not the best move you could have made.
And this is like May 10th?
Yeah, this was whenever that meet was.
A month before, yeah. 5 weeks before, yeah.
Yeah, and I was out of the water for a week and a half, and the weight room. And he's like, you could have a pretty good Tier Pro meet because you're going to be a little more rested, but your trials is going to suffer. So that terrified me. I'm like, I'm not going to miss my cousin's wedding, but it's definitely upsetting to hear that the meet that you've been preparing for is going to suffer.
Yeah, because that final cycle, you just don't miss. You can you don't want to overlift and overtrain, but you definitely don't want to miss. So that mentally it bucks the trend for sure. But God proved that going to your cousin's wedding is a good thing. So that's good.
Absolutely.
So, but then tell us about Indy. How'd you swim at Indy?
I went from a 54, so I was a 54.9 at juniors, and then the next time I swam it was the U.S. Open, and I went 54.7. And then the next time I swim it was 54.2 or 54.3.
Yeah. And
then finals that night was 53.6.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I broke 54. Awesome. I can maybe make the final at the trials now.
Yeah.
And I kind of held that mindset. I mean, there was still something in the back of my head but he said this was going to be your meet and trials would suffer. But I had got it in my head that I just beat Matt Gravers and Dean Ferris. I should be able to make the final.
Yeah. Wow. That's exciting. So, I mean, regardless of what the coach said, you knew your body was improving. You knew that you were figuring things out and on a good trajectory. So prelims of trials, what were you thinking real quick, and what was your time?
Well, that was the first trials I've ever been in. I wasn't even swimming year round in 2016, so I didn't even know we had Olympic trials really. So my first swim at trials was nerve-wracking, but I lucked out because I think Jacob Pebley decided he wasn't going to go, which moved me up in the circle seeds right next to Ryan Murphy.
Wow. So you're next to Ryan right away.
Oh yeah. It was such a cool experience though, because obviously there's no ready room, but I'm behind the blocks. And I'm like, this guy's huge.
He's strong. And you're 6'6". You're pretty big too. But no,
but he's like big.
He's strong. He's a strong dude. So yeah. That's cool. And what was your time in that prelim?
Oh man, I think I was 53 low. It was either 53.2, 53.0.
And he was 53 also. You were right with him because he wasn't going super all out, trying to kind of save his energy, but you were right with him. And so all of us are like, wow, okay, Hunter's on. What is Ryan showing all his cards? What's going on? And then semis. What happened in semis that night?
Semis. That's where everything kind of came together. And I still wasn't like all out. I tried to focus more on a strong stroke, because if you've watched my backstroke, I have an advantage of tempo.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to do in semis was just hold the water. You don't have to spin, you don't have to give everything, but you should at least be at like 98%, just to get a good spot. And somehow, I ended up second seed.
Yeah. Do you remember your exact time?
I want to say 52.6.
Yeah. So then now everybody's like, whoa, because 52 is for real.
Yeah.
And, Ryan, you're still right with Ryan, and no one else had done anything. The other guys weren't able to show their hand very much, Shane, Matt, the others. And so now you're in the final, and you're right in the middle of the pool, and this is it. This is showtime. What can you give us a little insight of what you were thinking and praying and trying to get right, and then what you were thinking during the race?
Oh boy. So I'm gonna go a little bit before the final. So I was in my hotel room in bed, and I've never felt this amount of pressure before. It was insane. I felt like uneasy. My stomach was like in knots. But I called my pastor. I said, "Hey, can you pray with me?" And he did, and I still have the prayer in my phone. It would probably take a bit to find it, but basically he was kind of talking about how backstroke is sort of like your faith. You're blind. You're staring at the ceiling. You have no idea where you're going, but you just have to trust. And I just thought that was really neat that he related swimming to faith.
Yeah.
And to tell you the truth, even after that prayer, I still didn't feel that much better. But where everything kind of happened is in the ready room with Michael Andrew, who has been there since the start of my career. Cheer Pro Series Bloomington. I was really nervous because this was my first Olympic trial cut that I was going for. And he saw that I was nervous, came over to me, and prayed with me. And then I got my first Olympic trial cut.
Oh, that's cool. I love
and now
that.
We're in the ready room praying before my first Olympic trial final. And then I get behind the blocks, and I've never felt that sense of peace. Like the biggest race of my life, and I was ready. I had no fear, nothing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I've had that confident peace before, and it came on me right before I swam my second Olympics trials in the 200 free. I was 27, feeling old, feeling nervous, and right when I got on the blocks, I got this confident peace. Like, okay, let's do this, Lord, and went and broke the American record and made the second team. But yeah, God rarely shows up early, but he's never late. And it's cool. My pastor always says, God's always good. It's just really nice when you can see it. And and when you get that little zone, confident peace, answer to prayer right before the race and during the race is really special. And obviously you guys put on a great show. Ryan was hustling. You were right there with him. 52.4 is one of the top USA times of all time, and secured your spot to Tokyo, and your life is forever changed in 52 seconds.
Yeah, it's definitely changed. I'd say for the better.
Yeah. And what I've learned a long time ago is that being an Olympian or being a gold medalist, doesn't change that much. It changes a lot on the exterior, but it doesn't change much on the interior. It doesn't give you this automatic happiness that you didn't have before. Because if you're not happy before the gold medal, you're not going to be happy after the gold medal. If you don't get a sense of purpose and peace and joy before the gold medal, you're not going to have one afterward, because it's just a piece of metal. There's more that has to take place in our soul and our spirit to find true joy and true happiness. But nevertheless, things change. You're in the papers, people recognize you. There's expectations. There's, they fly you to Hawaii and you bond with the team. And so, you're on this, new trajectory. Real quick, it looked like the Hawaii trip was a blast. The training camp was a blast. It looked amazing.
Yeah. I'm outside of the medal and watching the relay break a world record, Hawaii was probably my favorite part.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the free food, free massages, making new friends for life, and you're in Hawaii in an unbelievable, beautiful setting. It doesn't get any better.
It was incredible. And also it was really neat because, obviously I'm a first-time Olympian, and this is my first international meet. I've never represented USA before.
This is your first everything.
Yeah, and it was crazy. And then I landed in Hawaii, and I'm like, oh, that's Caleb Dressel. That's Katie Ledecky. That's Lee King. And they're just people. They're really, really fast people.
Yeah.
But we're eating meals together, and we're playing board games and poker and cards. And it was just like, these are my teammates now. I've looked up to these people for so long, and now I can say that we're teammates. That was just the coolest thing for me.
It is. You're friends for life. It's awesome. Real quick, your family must have gone nuts. Everybody back home in Dover went nuts when you made the team. Big deal. Dover's not like a hotbed of big time swimming, and everybody is so proud, going crazy. Give a shout out to all the support you got from them.
Oh man, it was unreal. They've supported me through everything, and that starts all the way back when I was a silver streak. Like, if I made leagues, I was in the paper. Like, it was just, they've been with me my entire life, and it's really neat that they still see me as the same kid. Like, a lot of people I talk to or meet that are strangers, they're like, Olympic gold medalist. But I can come home and have people be like, hey, Hunter's back.
Yeah.
Like, it's just this, I can feel the love from my community. Yeah. Even in Tokyo, I could.
That's awesome. And yeah, so it's fun to get some accolades and attention, but it's nice just to have that foundation of home base. People love you just because of you, not because you have some new hardware or name in the paper. And, but yeah, nevertheless, they're super proud, I know. And turns out we have some common friends. The Radizak family lives in your town, and they grew up with me in San Antonio. And then they ultimately left San Antonio to move to Ohio. And so your mom was talking with Miss Radizak the other day, and we were just it was so fun how just a small world stuff. But I thought that was pretty cool. So now let's go into Tokyo. It's just some of the ups and downs of Tokyo. I mean, it's crazy. I heard it, just from listening to a lot of other stories. Pretty strict lockdown, very different from the training camp. Time to get ready for business, and give us some insight into the ups and downs of your week there, because I know it was frustrating getting ninth, but take us through that real quick, because a lot of people go through the same things. More of us go through disappointments than the mountaintops. So take us through how you dealt with yours.
I still don't know why my performance was as difficult, I think is the best word. Once I get back to Columbus, I'm gonna try to figure out what was it a double taper issue? Was I just too overwhelmed? It's my first meet. It's the Olympics. It could have been anything, but I personally felt amazing on the first swim. Really no nerves or anything. But that first swim, I stuffed my wall. And then the world just kind of slowed down. And I'm like, this is it. I just messed up my first and only shot. Like, at this level, you have zero room for error.
Yeah.
And I stuff a wall. Which, if you guys haven't seen, the flags are very tiny and the ceiling's high. So I think it was he French in the semifinals that actually
hit? Yeah, the French do just the biggest slam we've ever seen.
Yeah, and I was lucky enough I was a body length past the flags, which at my height, I'm on the wall.
Yeah.
And I kind of lift my head and I'm like, I should have hit flags by now. And it was the worst turn of my life.
And this is prelims?
This is prelims.
And what did you go? Do you remember your time?
I think I was still 53.4.
Yeah. So that advances top 16, thankfully, correct?
Yeah, I tied for 16th.
That's crazy. Did you have to do a swim off?
Sorry, tied for 15th. I was
15th,
tied for the last spot.
Okay, so you're in, and now you're in the semifinal, and you get 9th by 100th of a second.
Yeah, I do regret my decision, because obviously I was slower than I had hoped to be in the prelims, and I knew that the semi was going to be the hardest one because it was the shortest turnaround.
Right.
And I always struggle to swim in the mornings. I mean, there have been times where I've dropped over a second in my prelim to final just because it's at night.
Right.
In a 50 free, I've dropped that much in a 50.
So your circadian rhythms are not great in the morning, traditionally.
No, it's something that we are working on. But so I was like, it's all or nothing. You go for it and leave everything you have. I went out faster than I've ever been out, which is still not very fast. I'm a back halfer.
Yeah.
It takes me time to build speed. So I think Clement goes out in like 24.8. I go out in 25.5, and that's too fast for me to go out.
Right.
But I went out in 25.5 and just abandoned all strategy for that race. Because I'm like, trust your training to get back.
Mm-hmm.
Big mistake.
Right.
Definitely trust your training, but do not abandon everything that you've worked for at the biggest meet of your life.
Yeah. Because in backstroke, if you overspin or overwork the legs, you do feel it at the end. And so, yeah, you got to have that aggressiveness. You got to have that spin, but you want to be catching that water and managing that energy just right. Mm-hmm. And obviously when you hit the turn, it's a lot easier on your legs and your momentum coming off that wall. And, but if you've already used too much gas, it's not fun. And we've all been there. I've been there many times, so I know what you're saying. But obviously there's just, your heart just drops when you realize you just fell short, and it's not fun. Everybody's been in those valleys. Everybody's been in those disappointments, but maybe you could just take us through how you were dealing with all that.
I don't often get to talk about faith, so that was hard. I mean, I had overcome so much, and I wasn't expected to make the team in the first place. And then I do, and I'm like, okay, God obviously has a plan for me to do something at the Olympics. And then I miss a wall in prelims and tie for the very last spot. And I'm like, okay, so I'm supposed to go further. And then I missed the final by 100th of a second. And it was all just taken from me. I'm like, why am I here? Like, I came so far. I had so many chances. I felt like I was supposed to do something. And did I miss it by 100th? For like the next 3 days, I had asked myself, to answer your question, to cope with it, I cried for like 3 days straight.
And yeah, and that's okay, because you've put your heart and soul into this journey. Even if it's just a year or 2 years, doesn't matter. You still gave it your all. And when you face that disappointment, it's totally natural to have a release of emotion, to kind of get it out. So that's I appreciate you sharing that. And but over those 3 days, was there some like clarity, like, okay, I this is good, this is therapeutic, I'm getting it out, and then did you how were you able to turn your mindset to kind of get ready for the relay later in the week?
I knew that I wasn't done. I still had a job to do, and It wasn't about me. It's not about, I'm upset with it, but I have 7 other people counting on me to do my job, and it would be selfish of me not to just frankly suck it up. I knew I had a job to do, and if I didn't do that job, then they would have never had an opportunity to break that world record.
Yeah. So you do your best to warm up and get ready for the prelims of the medley. What was do you remember your split on that one?
53.5.
Yeah. So that's good. So you did the job. Everybody, did their job. Even though it was 7th, you're still in the final, and you got a lane. And like Brendan Hansen said, if you got a lane, you got a chance. And boy, the guys at night took full advantage of that opportunity.
Yes, and they did.
Were you and the prelim guys cheering next to each other?
We actually weren't together, but I'll never forget that. I cried. This meet, I cried a lot, but this was a different type of cry. It was just pure pride.
Yeah.
Like, granted, I didn't have a huge part of that relay. I got them there along with my other 3 teammates, but that world record was all them. That gold medal was all them, and So I've never watched the Olympics before. Nor have I watched trials. This is when I say I'm new, I am very new. This season was my 3rd ever long course season.
And you really hadn't watched trials or Olympics, like barely even on TV.
No, I never watched it on TV. I never had a purpose.
Oh my gosh!
I've never watched Phelps. Never watched. I did watch the Lizak relay against the French, but that was on YouTube.
Yeah, well, that's good. You've seen the greatest one. That's good.
Yeah, but so I just watched a world record be broken in front of my eyes. I've never seen anything like it, and it was my team.
I love it. That's a good one. Yeah, that's a keeper. So. Oh, that's so funny.
They got up on the podium a little later, and I watched the flag and hear our national anthem, and I started to tear up. A couple rolled down. I wasn't bawling. I held back.
Yeah.
But, like, I can't imagine what they were feeling, like, on the actual podium. I mean, I'm in the stands taken by emotion. They're doing it for real.
Yeah. And, and for a lot of them, at least 3 of the 4, they needed a little redemption. Caleb's doing his thing, but it was a big deal for Ryan and Michael and Zach to finish well.
Yeah.
And they all did it. They all came together with a super finish. And I'm so glad they got their world record. That is a really great cherry on the top for those guys in a lot of ways. So very, very cool that you gave them the morning off so they could go do that. But or the night off rather. So very, very cool. Thanks for giving us some insight on that moment. And what was it like just finishing out the moments in Tokyo? Did you stay for a day or 2 or 3? Did you what were some closing speeches by the coaches? What were some little interpersonal moments with you and the other teams? Give us just a few little insights of what it was like finishing up before you flew home.
Oh boy. So we actually didn't get a ton of time. I don't know what day that relay fell on. Maybe the 1st? Is that the 1st?
Yeah, it was like the 31st, July 31st, August 1st. Yeah.
Yeah, we flew on the 2nd. So It was not a lot of time in Tokyo. And obviously with COVID restrictions, we didn't really get to do anything as a team.
Yeah.
We did have a team meeting where we kind of thanked everybody. Unfortunately, those 4 guys were off with NBC because it was the afternoon after that.
I see.
But which was a little disappointing for me because earlier I watched the women's 400 free relay. They call up the final swimmers, and the final swimmers present the medals to the prelim swimmers.
Oh,
and I'm
so they had little ceremonies there at the pool for the prelim medal winners.
Yeah.
Oh,
it was at our hotel. But,
right.
And I just thought that was
really
the coolest thing.
Yeah.
But our guys were gone.
They were busy doing the final rounds of interviews.
Yeah. So I did not get the medal presented from Ryan Murphy, which is something that I would have cherished forever. But I did get the Greg Troy to present my medal, and that was also pretty neat.
That is special. That is good. Well, you got one either way. 2 of my 5 Olympic medals are prelims, and I'm proud of my prelim performance to help the night guys get ready and do their thing. And I love that we are able to do that, able to celebrate that. The 8 of us or the 6 of us or whatever it is, to share that medal. Anyway, just super proud of you. What I'd like to do, obviously the last few years has been a crazy journey, and you've probably learned more in the last 2 months than you have in 2 years. And so maybe you can share with us going through a lightning round of our 7 habits of highly effective swimmers, things that have really helped you. Number 1 is finesse, which we're talking about technique, the importance of great technique. Do you have a favorite drill? Do you have a favorite technique tip that is really that you'd be willing to share with everybody?
So, this won't be very lightning, this first one, because there is a little bit of story to it. Because I'm so new, I don't have the strength nor really the details that a lot of my competitors have. So what I have to rely on is feel for the water. That's something that I was blessed with that many people don't have. They're able to brute strength it. No offense to my brother. He's able to brute strength it. Just he beats the water up into submission so that it carries him. But because I rely so much on feel for the water, I always do fist drill.
Aha. Yeah.
That is that is my go-to.
I love fist drill. It really helps you highlight and become hypersensitive with your forearm and bicep. And then when you open the hand paddle back up, you got all 3 paddles working, and you feel more. You feel more. I love that. I love that. Number 2 is fitness, the importance of being tough, training. In swimming, we do doubles, we lift weights, we get 9 swims and 3 lifts, like it's an insane schedule. But do you have a favorite set? Do you have a favorite kind of thing that's really set you apart training-wise, fitness-wise?
So we do a lot of quality sets. So we will suit up every Saturday, and we'll go like 1050s all out on 4 minutes. I say favorite because I just like to race, but those are the most painful. But
Yeah.
I do attribute a lot of that to a lot of my success to sets like that. You
Yeah.
learn to just deal with the pain, learn to love it.
And number 3 is flexibility, the importance of having full range of motion to do the strokes right and recover well and prevent injury. Did you have anything that you did flexibility wise? Did you have anything that you learned from watching the other Olympians in Tokyo? Do you have a flexibility tip for us?
Didn't learn a lot from Tokyo, but I'm actually not very flexible at all. But I actually have very bad shoulder issues, and due to the fact that we had COVID restrictions, I didn't get to see our trainers a lot. So my go-to stretch is the sleeper stretch. Are you familiar with it?
No, is that where you do something like this, or you try and sleep hold yourself, choke hold you? What is?
So sleeper stretch is you lay flat on the ground with your arm up, and then you have to press your hand into the ground.
Oh, interesting.
And it hits like right in here and back here, which is where I have a majority of my issues.
Yeah, so you're kind of just working this range of motion.
Yep.
But you're laying flat on your back.
Yeah, so you have to lay flat and have it at a perfect 90, or else it won't work.
Yeah.
And then you just have to press your arm down.
Yeah. So you're warming up that range of motion, that area.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. That's great. Number 4 is fueling, the importance of getting the cleanest inner fuel possible for your racing machine. Do you have anything that has set you apart fueling wise, hydration wise, snack wise, that really, really helped you supplement wise?
So I can't really lie because my friends and family will watch this and they'll know. I am absolutely terrible with my diet. I don't like the taste of water. So I actually don't drink water.
Oh, jeez.
And then I am a fan of fast food. When I went to college, I was kind of set up. At West Virginia, there was a McDonald's right next to my dorm. And now there's like Wendy's and Cane's. I had Cane's for the first time this year. I love it. But I will say, in order for me to take my next step in progression, I can't continue to slack on nutrition. And that is something that our nutritionist has made very clear. And I'm actually get the opportunity to live with my brother and his girlfriend. We're all kind of just, it's cheaper. We're getting an apartment together in Columbus, and she's very good at nutrition stuff.
Yeah, so you may be able to turn the corner and take it to the next level.
Absolutely.
I love it.
So any athletes that are watching, do not eat like me. Drink water. Like it is very important. You have to put the proper fuel in order to get your body to do what you want it to do, and that's the next step I'm going to take.
Yeah, even guys like Ryan Lochte realize not too much McDonald's. Got to get it cleaner fuel. I love that. Well, thanks for your honesty. That's good. And then number 5 is fun and focus. We now move from the physical things like training and eating to now a mental thing, how we think, how we set goals, how we keep our attitude of gratitude, how we keep the proper mindset, how we be mentally resilient. So what is something that's really helped you mentally, to kind of stay focused and have fun?
So to have fun, I just love my teammates. They make it so much fun. When we're in a really hard set and we have people telling jokes, and we have a couple of girls that come to mind that are always smiling and laughing, and it makes it so much more fun to just not only be around them, but when it's 5:30 in the morning and you're jumping in freezing cold water and everyone's tired and grumpy, and you have a select few people that are just happy, it helps. So there's the fun, and the focus is just keeping everything in perspective. You gotta goals are important. Goals are very important, and that is something that I set very high goals for myself. But if you fall short, you have to keep things in perspective.
Yeah, I like that. Number 6 of the 7 is family and friends, the importance of healthy relationships to create low stress for your body to be freed up to perform at its best. So you've got great family, you've got a great group of friends, but what is something practical that's really helped you stay kind of low stress, healthy relationships so your body's at peak performance in regards to family and friends?
So even when I'm in Columbus or even in Tokyo, I'd FaceTime my friends. I'd call them, and it was nice to kind of get my mind off things because perfect example, I was really upset after missing the final. My kind of escape for that was I called my mom, I called my brother, I called my best friends, I talked to my coach. And it was nice to just, we talk about swimming a lot, but just to have those close people to you and the ability to do something except talk about swimming. Talk about your day, work, something fun, plans for the future. Me specifically, I love board games. We'd play a lot of them at my house. So it's like, oh, I found this cool game that we should play when I get home. So just having the people to help you relax and stay calm.
Yeah, that's good advice. And then finally, number 7 is faith, the importance of being strong spiritually as well as physically and mentally. Also want to be strong spiritually. You don't want to neglect any of the 3 areas. And so maybe, you've been going to church for a while, I'm assuming, or, just maybe a Bible verse that's been important to you, or, just something, prayer verse, church wise. What's something faith wise that is practically that has helped you?
Oh boy. So, that's a tough one because I don't want to give you a bad one. Swimming has actually brought me a lot closer to God. I was in a time of my life back when I was telling you about Tier Pro Bloomington, which is where I made my first cut. I was at a time where I was starting to doubt. I hadn't seen any proof. I never prayed. I didn't enjoy going to church. I would still consider myself a Christian at that time, but it was kind of that point where you start to drift further from God. And I remember praying, which is something that I'd not done in so long, praying the night before that 100 back. And then I did it again with Michael that next day. And then I made my first cut, and I'm like, no, that might be the proof that I was looking for. Yeah. And then I continued to hold my faith throughout competition, and things like this start happening, and I'm like, no, there is a God, and that I asked for proof, and he gave it to me.
Yeah.
And my next step in faith is remembering. I struggle with only praying when I need something, and I don't like that. It tends to be he comes to mind when I need something. And I don't want that. I want a relationship with God. And I feel bad because I don't want it to be, oh, hey, I have a really big meet. I need you to make me go fast. That's not what he's there for.
Yeah.
But with just a busy life, you tend to forget. You forget about everything that you've been blessed with. And that's something that I want to continue working on, is always remembering my faith, and not just when it is convenient to me.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that, Hunter. I think that was really well said. And I really appreciate your transparency on that, because that is a lot of people's experience, that we sometimes drift and we sometimes forget, and we all need to be remind ourselves and remember that God's goodness is all around us, and
Absolutely.
that he does want a fully devoted relationship with him that covers all areas of our life, and he's worthy of that trust and that relationship. So I love that you share that. I appreciate that very much. Real quick, just a lightning round of your favorite things so we get to know Hunter a little bit better. Favorite color?
Red.
Nice. Are you a video game guy? Do you have a favorite video game?
Love video games. I just have so many of them. Right now, there's a new game in beta. It's called Splitgate. It's kind of a mix between Halo and Portal.
Nice.
I enjoy it.
That's cool. And favorite event? I'm assuming it's Hunter back, but maybe I'm wrong. What's your favorite?
Ooh. So short course, probably the 100 freestyle. No, short course 200 freestyle, long course 100 freestyle.
Really?
Yes, I enjoy it. It hurts a lot, but
yeah.
I enjoy how there's so much strategy that has to go into it.
You don't know how proud I am of you right now. I'm a 200 free guy. I got to win NC2A's 200 free 93 long time ago. And that's why I made my Olympics in 200 free. And what's your best yards time, 200 free?
So I only have probably less than 10 swims on the 200 free overall. So high school, I did it like my junior year, and I was a 147, 149. Then the next time I swim it was at our West Virginia invite, and I even split a 135. And then I didn't get to swim it because obviously I have my 3 individuals, 50 free, 100 free, 100 back.
Yeah.
At West Virginia, I just did 50 free, 100 free. But OSU, I would typically go 100 back, 100 free, or the 50. I kind of went on a tangent there. I don't swim the 200 freestyle. I just have a really big respect for it, and I would like to start learning. But I did split a 132 off of our 800 free relay at Big Tens.
Yeah. Okay. So it's in there.
Yeah.
It's in there.
I have to learn how to swim it properly because I negative split it so badly. Like because my 135 was an even split, and then my 132 was probably like a second difference between the first 100 and the second.
Oh man, so there's more in the tank. That's good. I love that. And I do want to give a shout out. Right after you made the team in the 100 back at trials in June, you did the 100 free and went 49.3. Was that your best meters?
It was. I was a 49.7 at juniors. I definitely think I'm capable of going 48 mid to low, but just the excitement from the 100 back, I didn't even get an hour of sleep.
I was going to say, in light of everything that took place in that 24 hours, 49.3 is amazing. So I agree with you. I think 48 mid is in your future. So go for that. That's cool. Favorite pool to race or train or do anything in?
Well, my coach is going to hate me because it's actually not Ohio. I love Ohio State, and a lot of my barriers have been broken there. My first ever 23, which was sophomore or junior year, probably sophomore year of high school, I finally broke 24 seconds in the 50 free. That was in Ohio State's pool. Tons of barriers have been broken there, but I'm going to go with Stanford because that was juniors.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Stanford outdoors, 4 pools, great weather,
incredible.
It's beautiful. It's like no other. Do you have a favorite weight room or dryland movement? Do you have a favorite?
So I'm still learning. I've been in the weight room for about maybe 4 months because of COVID. But I really enjoy cleans because it's the only thing that my height does not make incredibly harder.
Right. That's so funny. You talked about your favorite food, but if you had to pick one thing It's like, yeah, I could eat this every day. What is your favorite?
Ooh, I love breakfast. I think biscuits and gravy.
Nice. Favorite city you've ever visited in the world for swimming or tourism? Just
Ooh,
you have a favorite. You can narrow it down.
favorite city. Tokyo. I
Yeah.
actually really enjoy Japan and the culture.
Yeah.
Now, if you can't tell, we live in a log cabin. I am a country boy. I like living out of the city. But I loved Japan. Tokyo was probably just a little too crowded for me, but like a little out in the country of Japan, I think would be gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely excited for you guys to go back and really do the touristy thing in Japan, because I got to race there 3 times for the USA team. And every time I went, I went fast. The pools were nice. I love the people. The electronics were amazing. It's kind of fun just to see the vibe of Japan. I really enjoyed it. So hopefully you guys get to tour more. And last question, your favorite magician?
Ooh, okay.
Narrow it down to someone we would know, anybody we know or big name we'd recognize.
Okay, well, someone you'd know would probably be David Blaine.
Of course.
But
he was at USA Swimming hired him to be the entertainment at a banquet about 7 years ago.
I wish I was swimming 6 or 7 years ago. I could have had a chance.
Yeah, he was awesome.
No, but my favorite all time is Justin Flom. He's not as famous, but he's also big in his faith, and he does a little bit more my style magic.
Yeah.
Because David Blaine is more like daredevil-y kind of thing, like frozen alive, suspended in air. No, I like personable things, like go up and blow your mind in person, interact with people, not look at what I can do.
And how do you spell Justin's last name?
Flom.
And what was how did you present the captains with the card trick? Did you say, hey, I have a cool way to announce the captains? I'm a good magician. I'm good with cards. I mean, how did that whole thing take place? It looked so natural and smooth and cool.
Oh, thank you. It was not very smooth. So I was just playing Catan, which is a board game with Zach Harding and I think Olivia Smaliga.
Yeah.
And then our social media director, Kara, calls me over. She's like, hey, I hear you do magic. And she was just kind of talking to me. And I'm like, well, I don't have cards. And then I'm like, oh, I have an idea. So I went over and I grabbed a stack out of like Cards Against Humanity, which if you know anything about that game, that was quite the performance using those types of cards. But she was impressed and she said, oh, you should reveal our captains with a magic trick. I'm like, we reveal captains in like an hour and a half. She's like, yeah, could you do that? I'm like, sure.
So you practiced for a few times and got it ready?
I mean, the first 45 minutes of it was me sitting in my room like, how can I do this?
Oh,
like, I invented a whole new routine and performed it within an hour.
Wow. I'm impressed. That's amazing.
So was I. I didn't expect it to go nearly as well as it did.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, definitely an ultimate swimmer. Smart, fast, good at magic, and very, 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 very cool and kind. And thanks for being a great teammate to the folks at Ohio State and all your friends and family growing up in Dover, and of course for the USA team in Tokyo. And we look forward to cheering you on more in the future. And I assume you're going to train for 3 more years and give it a go.
I hope. I hope to make it back to Paris and hopefully even LA. I don't know if 31 is too old to make an Olympic team, but we'll play it by ear.
Yeah. Well, I did my lifetime best at 28, so you're fine.
Maybe we'll give it a try.
You give it a try. Well, hey, thanks for your time, and we'll be cheering you. And look forward to seeing you around the pool soon. All the best, Hunter.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us on this Ultimate Swimmer podcast. We hope you enjoyed hearing from these Olympians and life champions and how certain habits and decisions help them on their journey, and they can help you too. If there is an Ultimate Swimmer from your team that you would like to nominate that we can recognize on our show, just email me at josh@joshdavis.com. That's josh@joshdavis.com. And tell us about how your Ultimate Swimmer is making a difference in your swimming community. And that's the goal, to make a difference and swim with purpose. Not only are you getting better, but you're helping those around you get better too. When you realize you were born for the water, born for greatness, and born to serve others, you are on your way to becoming an Ultimate Swimmer. I'm Josh Davis. Until next time, keep streamlining and keep smiling. See you around the pool soon.